Hi guys. So for those who may or may not know me, my name is Destiny and welcome to the Ortiz family. Yay! Okay, so today I'm going to be talking about my experience of being pregnant at 17 and then being pregnant again at 18 years old. So let's start off with how I found out I was pregnant at 17. So me and my boyfriend at the time, who is now my husband, we were together for a few months, and so I don't know, I just started feeling really weird. Like, I was sleeping a lot. Like, I was already a teenager, so I was already like really angry, but I was like even angrier. I was like on like bitch mode 24/7. So like one day my godmom sat me down and was like, girl, like, you need to tone it down. Like, your attitude has been so nasty. What's wrong with you? And she kind of hinted at the fact, like, she was like, are you pregnant? And like in my head I put two and two together and I'm just like, oh my god, oh my god, am I? Like, so I just started crying and she was like, what's wrong? And like, my dad lived in a different state at the time, so I was like, oh, I miss my dad. Like, I miss him so much. Like, I can't. And I did miss him, don't get me wrong. But, I kind of used that as an excuse for the fact that I was crying. But really, like, in my head, I was, like, freaking out. I was like, oh, my God. Like, she's going to beat me. Like, oh, my God. So, she ended up hugging me and was like, it's okay. Whatever. Like, 3 days later, me and my boyfriend, who's my husband at the time, we were supposed to go with his family on a trip to Sarasota. And I kind of told him in advance, like, I think I'm pregnant, like, no joke. And he was like, it's okay, like, I'll get you a test. And he went and bought me a test. And that morning when I showed up at his house to go to Sarasota, like, I was waiting for his family to get dressed. And they got dressed and I took a pregnancy test and it came out positive. And I was literally like shaking. Like, I took it by myself in the room and in the bathroom, and I was shaking. Like, my hands were like, oh my god, what am I gonna do? Like, what are we gonna do? Like, mind you, we don't have jobs. We're teenagers, like, going to high school. So and I found out in August. So this was right before like orientation time and our senior year. So I was freaking out. But I told my husband and he ended up going like, it's okay. I could tell he was freaking out, but he didn't want to like freak me out even more. Because, I'm the one that has to go through it, even though he's going through it with me, but I'm the pregnant one, So he was kind of like, it's okay, babe. Like, we'll figure it out, blah, blah, blah. So anyways, time went by and we went to orientation. We started our senior year. And I believe 2 weeks into senior year, like, I was like, okay, babe, like, we need to, like, seriously figure out what we're going to do. Like, so we called, I think, like, a pregnancy place, like a wellness center. I don't know what they're called. But I called one and I made an appointment one of the days that we were going to school and we got out early. I usually got out of school around 2 and he went to the same school as me. So we got out of school around 2 and that day the appointment was at 2. So we ended up skipping school with one of our friends. We went to like Munchies and to McDonald's and we were just hanging out. So we ended up getting dropped off at one of my husband's friend's mom's house, and she ended up taking us to the pregnancy place, the wellness center. Again, I don't know what it was called. So we were sitting there for what it feels like hours. Like, I was so anxious. I was like, oh my god, what are they gonna tell me? Are they gonna call my parents? Like, what's going on? So I went in by myself. My boyfriend like stayed out. I don't think they let him into the room with me. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I was underage. I don't know. But I went into the room by myself and I took like, I guess, like blood work, and I did like another pregnancy test there as well. So we did that and it came out positive like super fast, and the lady had like this look, like she kind of looked at me like, you're pregnant. And I don't know why, but I was like, I am, because I already knew I was, but that just like hit home. Like, I was like, oh my god, I'm really pregnant. So I was literally like so happy, like actually happy. Like, I was smiling. I couldn't like contain myself like at all. So my boyfriend was actually looking in the room. He was looking in the room through the door, and once he saw me like smiling like from ear to ear, he was like literally his face was like excuse me. He was like, oh my god, she's really pregnant. Like, oh my god. Like, he was freaking out. And when I came out the room, he like was not talking. So on the way home, his friend's mom dropped him off and dropped me off. But on the way there, she was like, you know, you guys gotta like get your stuff together. Like, Joshua, be a man. Destiny, you know, like, get your stuff together. So we were like, okay. And I don't know what got into me that day, but I grew some balls. I told him in the car, I was like, listen, I'm telling my mom today. As soon as I walk in, I am telling my mom. So you better go ahead and tell your brother, you know, what's going on, because I'm telling my mom. And he was just like, no, like, what's gonna happen? I'm gonna get in so much trouble. And I'm just like, well, you know, you need to do it, because I'm gonna do it. So regardless of whether you do it or not, my mom is gonna call them and tell them. So I would rather you tell them so they hear it from you first. And he was just like, okay. 5 minutes later, I literally walk inside my house, and I'm just like in my head, like, how am I even gonna tell them? So my mom was actually cooking at the time, and my godmom was sitting at the kitchen table, which the kitchen was right here and the dining room table was literally right here. And I literally just walked in, and I was in between like both of them. So I'm just standing there, and I was like, I got something to tell y'all. And my mom was like, what? She was like, do you want to talk about sex? And in my head, I'm like, little do you know what I'm about to tell you, girl. So I'm just like, oh my god, like, now you want to have the sex talk? Like, it's too late. So then I'm just like, no, you guys have to guess. And they're like, what? Like, they're kind of getting mad at me. They're like, what? And my godmom's like, hold up, she's pregnant. And literally, I just was like, yup. Like, So my mom was like, are you serious? And I was like, yeah, I am. I just got back from the clinic. She was like, no. I was like, yeah, Mom, I am. So she like sent me to my room, and my room was like all the way in the back of the house. So I just walked to my room, and I was like, well, that was easier than what I expected it to be. Anyways, I was sitting in my room, and she came in, and she was like, well, you need to call Joshua. Like, he needs to get here right now. Him, his brother, you know, his wife, like, everybody needs to get here. So I called him, and I was like, hey, my mom knows, you know, you need to tell everybody so everybody can head over here. My mom wants to talk, you know, to them. And I called my husband, and he was living with his brother and my sister-in-law. So, you know, they were his guardians. So they came over, and my mom was just like going off. Like, she was just so mad. And his brother was mad too. Like, they were just so disappointed in us. And so was my godmom, and so was my goddad. Like, everybody was like interrogating us. They're like, how did this happen? Why did you guys not talk to us? Why didn't you guys use protection? Blah, blah, blah. Anyways, my mom basically like told me, like, you know, you need to finish school. You need to finish school. He needs to finish school. You guys need to get jobs. If not, you're not living under my household, which I understand, you know, like, I wanted to be an adult, so now I need to make adult decisions. Anyways, a couple months had passed, and I actually graduated school early, like really early. I graduated in December of 2014, and I wasn't supposed to graduate until like June 2015, which I ended up still walking with my class. But it was just really hard. Like, I was sick all the time. Like, I did not have an easy pregnancy whatsoever. I had morning sickness almost every single day. Everything I consumed, I threw up, which was really difficult for me because I love food. So everything I ate, I was just like, ugh, like, it was not okay. I lost a lot of weight in the beginning of my pregnancy. Towards the end, I gained most of it back. But I was hospitalized like twice. I think a few days before I gave birth. No, actually, yeah, I was hospitalized twice before I gave birth just because I was vomiting so much. Like, I couldn't stand it. And then the day that I went into labor, I was laying in bed. It was like 3 in the morning, and I was sleeping. And that day, I kind of knew I was going to have her because it was me and my husband's anniversary, like our 1-year anniversary. And I texted him, and I was like, you know, happy anniversary. I'm going to give birth today. And he didn't text me back because we were living at different houses at the time. So he didn't text me back, but I knew, like, I had like a motherly instinct. So I laid down, I went to sleep. A couple hours later, I woke up to what it felt like pee. Like, I thought I peed all over myself. I was thinking like, oh, maybe I held my pee too long and I'm pregnant and it just all came out. But no, my water broke. So I didn't know, I didn't know what that was. So I literally just took my pants off and I was like tiptoeing to my mom's room, which was like down the hallway. And I was like, Mom. And my dad was there at the time, actually. Like, my dad was so supportive throughout my whole pregnancy. He ended up moving in with us, and him and my mom weren't together. But, he was there, I was glad that everybody was so supportive, after everything went down. But they were both in the room, and I walked in, and I was like, I think, like, I peed myself. Like, something's wrong. And my mom's like, oh, Mija, your water broke. And she just told me to like sit down on the toilet and calm down. She went and knocked on my godmom's door, and my godmom and my goddad like came out. They were like, are you okay? Like, my godmom and my mom were like dealing with me. They like got me new pants, and they like started feeding me food and asking me like how I felt. And I started getting contractions, so they were like counting how far apart my contractions were. So they were doing all that, and in my head I'm just like, oh my God, somebody needs to tell Joshua, like, Mom, get a hold of him. So she started calling him, and he was sleeping because that morning he needed to go take his SATs in order to graduate. So that was like a big morning for him. So he wasn't answering his phone. It was like 3 a.m, and he had to go wake up to go to school at like 6. So he wasn't answering. I'm freaking out. I'm like, oh my God, I'm actually gonna have a baby. Like, it's gonna come at me. Like, what am I gonna do? So that happened, and I was sitting there like just getting fed. Like, my mom fed me a whole watermelon. She made me like 2 burgers with fries. She was like, girl, you need to eat before you go to the hospital. Like, you need to get some rest. So I ended up taking a nap. I ate, I took a shower. I stayed home for like maybe 6-7 hours after I went into labor, like after my water broke. I stayed home because they were telling me like, it sucks being at the hospital, nurses like touching you every couple minutes to see how you're doing. Like, it's annoying, especially when you're in labor. So anyways, my goddad and my dad ended up taking me to the hospital. My godmom went to work, but she ended up meeting us at the hospital anyways. And my mom, I believe she took my brothers to school, and then she ended up finding a way to get to the hospital. So everybody was at the hospital except for Joshua. Like, he had to go to school and take those SATs because if not, he was not going to graduate. So, he went to school. He ended up getting out of school early and meeting me with like a few of our friends at the hospital. But like, it sucked. Like, I was crying so much. I was sad that he wasn't there. My godmom and my mom were like, taking care of me. I believe my goddad and my dad were just hanging out. A lot of his family, like my sister-in-laws and brother-in-laws, ended up showing up, and a lot of our friends ended up coming. So I ended up giving birth laughing. Like, I gave birth at 4 p.m, and my water broke at 3 a.m. that same day. So when I like started pushing, like, the nurse told me like, hey, it's time, you need to like go. I started pushing and pushing, and I was laughing. Like, literally, they were like looking at me like, oh my God, why are you laughing? And it was because my husband's face was in between my legs, and he was just like in such disgust. Like, he was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, what's going on? And I'm just literally laughing so hard that she just comes right out. She literally just slid out laughing, and I don't know, like, it was like the best feeling in my life, like knowing that I created something inside of my body. It was just awesome. And we had so much support after that. Like, I was in the hospital for 3 days, and everybody and their moms came. Like, the nurses were like, oh my God, you guys have so much like visitors. And I was like, yeah, anyways, okay, let's talk about the second time I found out I was pregnant. So it was literally like 3 months after I gave birth to Emery. My husband was actually about to go to basic training, and he ended up leaving. Like, he went to basic training, and I was actually living with his family at the time, his brother-in-law, and then his sister-in-law too. Like, I was going back and forth from their houses. So he left at basic training, and our only communication was through letters. Like, we would write each other letters. And I don't know why, but I took a pregnancy test when he left because I felt like really sick. And I was on this birth control called NuvaRing. Your girl still got pregnant. But I was on that birth control and I just felt really sick to my stomach. Like the same feeling I had when I was pregnant with Emery. So I took a I took a pregnancy test and it said negative. So I was like, okay, like good. Like I don't need 2 kids right now. Like it'll be really hard. I'm by myself basically. So I like told him about the fact that I took a pregnancy test in one of our letters, and he ended up telling me to take another one. Like he just felt weird too. Maybe he was thinking about it because he wasn't doing anything. He wrote me a letter and was like, hey, you need to take another one. I feel like you are. Maybe you are. So I ended up taking another one like the same week, and right then and there, like it said positive, and I just started crying. I was like, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do with 2 babies? Like, what am I gonna do? They're gonna be like 3 months apart. Like, what am I gonna do? So his family was like consulting me, like telling me like it's okay, you do whatever you feel like is best for you. And I was obviously gonna keep her. I just was really stressed out. It was a really hard time finding out you're pregnant after you had just had your baby, because I was like, what if I don't show Emery as much love? Or what if I don't show Charlotte, which was my second daughter, as much love? Like I want them to get equal love, which obviously I give them equal love. But like I was a new mom, so those were things that were going through my head. So I ended up writing my husband a letter after I went to go get an ultrasound. And I was actually pregnant with twins. And I was freaking out even more. I was like, I'm going to have 3 kids. Anyways, some stuff happened. And it just ended up being Charlotte, so I was only pregnant with 1 child. And everybody was really content. I ended up telling my mom. My mom was kind of like, I knew it. And I told the rest of my family, like I told my grandma, I told my dad, and everybody was just like, not off real, like, girl, you just had a baby. And I'm just like, I know. And they're like, okay, that makes sense. Like, I understand, like, you're married, you're doing what you gotta do, like, you're good. And then I told his sister-in-law, and she didn't believe me at first. She was like, no way. I was like, yeah. She was like, no. I was like, yeah. Like, nobody believed me because it was hard to believe. Anyways, I went through the pregnancy basically almost alone the whole time because my husband was in basic. Then he went to AIT. Then we moved here to Washington State, but he was here by himself for a couple months before I ended up coming, and actually gave birth here, like with no family, no epidural, like straight up. And that time when I went into labor, I was actually at the supermarket, and my grandma had came to visit me to help me out with my pregnancy since I had no family here, just my husband. She came and she was with me for like 2 months, and she was actually about to leave. So she was like, girl, you need to go into labor before I leave. And I did. Like, I went in one morning to one of my appointments, and she checked me or whatever. I think she checked my cervix. I don't know. I don't remember. So she ended up checking me, and I was like 2 centimeters dilated. I went home that day, and I was like, I'm giving birth today. Like, today's the day. We ended up walking to the grocery store, which was like a mile or 2 from my house, just to get my contractions going, get this baby out of me. So we walked to the store, and at the store I can't walk. I'm like, oh my god, like my contractions were hitting so hard, and my husband was at work. So I was like, I can't walk. Like, I called Joshua. I was like, babe, you need to come. I'm gonna have the baby at the store. And he actually didn't come until like an hour later because they didn't let him go anywhere. So he was at work, and I was just sitting at a bench outside of the supermarket eating red velvet cake, like stuffing my face, trying to not think about the fact that like a baby's gonna pop out of me. So he ended up showing up. We stuffed everything in the car. I dropped off my daughter with my grandmother at my house, and I went to the hospital. I arrived at the hospital, and they put me in the room, and my water broke like right away. Like, it just popped everywhere. And I told my husband, like, oh my god, go get the nurses, my water broke. And he was like, no, like, no way. I was like, yes way, like, you need to go. So he checked, my water did break, I wasn't tripping. He told the nurses, I didn't get an epidural this time because literally like her head was right there. I was gonna have her like right there because I waited that whole day to go to the hospital until I needed to have her. So I ended up having her. She's a miracle, just like Emery is. I love them both to death. I'm so glad that God blessed me with my babies, you know. But your girl ain't having no more kids right now. Anyways, yeah, those are my stories. Mind you, this whole time, like, when I first got pregnant, I wasn't even allowed to have a boyfriend at all. Like, my mom was like, that's not your boyfriend. I was like, yes, it is. Because I was so naive. I was like, yes, it is. Like, I love him. That's my boyfriend. And I actually had just turned 17. Like, I was with him since I was 16. So I was like, that's my boyfriend. She was like, no, that's your friend who's a boy. I was like, no, girl. But she got over it after a while. Like, she let him come over and, you know, that's how things started rolling. But thank you for watching. Please subscribe. My next video, I believe, is going to be about how me and my boyfriend met. Yeah. Thank you, guys.